Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law joins us once again to review now his top 5 on that list. And of course, the top 5, number 5, we've certainly talked about a lot, and that is the litigation around Roundup.
The Roundup litigation continues, and the big development in 2021 was a decision by the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit on the issue of state of California requiring a warning label on Roundup products, which can only be placed on the product if you get the federal EPA to approve it. You have to get federal approval, but EPA has consistently said that the warning on Roundup that California wants is not necessary. So on this goes, they've asked the U.S. Supreme Court, Bayer Monsanto has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to hear the case.
Do you think they will?
Well, in mid-December, the Supreme Court, they had a conference on December 10, and they didn't decide whether they were going to take the case. But then on December 13, they asked the U.S. Solicitor General to file a brief in the case. I'm not sure how to read that, other than the Supreme Court might be interested in it.
All right. And then number 4, that involves water law, battle between 2 states and the Supreme Court.
Yeah, actually, we're sitting in the Nashville studio today, and this case arose in Memphis. It was a battle between Memphis and the state of Mississippi. And there's a big interstate underground aquifer that supplies water to numerous states in this area. And the city of Memphis had drilled about 160 wells, and they were pumping, I think, about 120 million gallons of water every day out of that aquifer. And Mississippi claimed, well, you created a cone of depression around your wells, and that's sucking water out of the aquifer that we would otherwise have. That's our water. So they sued Memphis for trespass. And eventually finds its way to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court tosses the case basically on procedural grounds, said, no, this is a battle between states. We have original jurisdiction there, and we're not going to decide that issue. But then they went ahead and said, if we do decide this issue, we're going to use the doctrine of equitable apportionment. And the issue with respect to equitable apportionment, I think, has big implications for agriculture.
Well, it does sound like it would. Can you dig a little deeper into that?
Yeah, when you get into equitable apportionment, what they will apportion would be the economic benefits of the water, not the volume of water. And when you apply that to agriculture, agriculture uses a high volume of water for relatively, some would say, low economic benefit. Municipal uses use less volume for high economic benefit. So if they start using that doctrine, you get this rural-urban issue. Say the city of Denver wants to use water, and the Eastern Plain farmers out in Colorado irrigate with that. I think this tips the scale in form of to the side of urban people.
That's going to be an interesting conversation. We shall watch. And then number 3, property taking case, I understand. So we're talking property rights here. Yeah,
this is, again, a U.S. Supreme Court case arising from California. The United Farm Workers came onto a strawberry farm's premises.
I remember that,
for about 3 hours every morning. And they're allowed to do this under state law. This dates back to legislation in the Cesar Chavez days back in the 1970s. And they're allowed to come on your premises. They don't have to have permission, and they can recruit workers. And this company, this farming operation, got tired of this, and so they sued, and they lost in the state and federal courts out in California. It goes to the Supreme Court, and they said that is a per se taking. The right to exclude others from your property is a fundamental constitutional right. That's a big deal for agriculture.
That certainly would be. Now, number 2 is certainly one we talk about a lot. We're talking about WOTUS here, which is still kind of
around and around we go with WOTUS. It seems to never leave us, and it changes all the time. Of course, the Obama administration wrote their rule. The Trump administration came in, rescinded that rule, wrote their own rule. In 2021, we had a federal court in Arizona that vacated the Trump rule, and then both the EPA and the Corps of Engineers said, well, we're not going to enforce that rule anywhere in the country. And now in early December, we have the new proposed rule that has come out. It's in the comment period right now. And what it would do is take us back to the 1986 definition of what a navigable water of the United States is, which generated all kinds of court litigation for 30 years before we got a new rule. So expect this to be in the courts, and expect it to keep lawyers happy.
Yeah, there you go. Now, number 1, I would have guessed WOTUS would be number 1, but you have chosen the Build Back Better plan from the Obama administration, or the Biden administration.
WOTUS is important, but it doesn't necessarily affect everybody.
Right.
The tax stuff that was in Build Back Better would affect absolutely everybody.
Okay.
And I would have had this number 1 on my list had it passed. It's still number one because it didn't pass, because agriculture, in my view, dodged a big bullet. We didn't see a change in the step-up basis rule at death. We didn't see a decrease in the federal estate tax exemption. We didn't see higher capital gain rates. All of that got stripped out before the House voted on it. So the House version that passed in late November was not nearly as bad as what was offered. Now, going forward, that remains to see what's going to happen in 2022. Do they piece some of this back together and we actually get some of it, or what might we face in 2022? But this is something that affects everybody. All
right. Well, Roger, as always, thanks for keeping track of all of these things and also sitting down to share your findings with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, Roger McEowen, he's with the Washburn University School of Law, sitting down with us here at the studio in Nashville. And of course, he will keep us posted also as these number of issues continue to arise.